Anyway, speaking of effluvia, the time just fluvia by. It was already time for the FTW title match. Fuck the world, fuck this match. Chris Jericho's graphic is now the learning tree, Chris Jericho. The ghost of Ernie Ladd could teach me. Ernie Ladd's desiccated corpse could teach me more than Chris Jericho can right now.
So let's stop for a second. We briefly talked about it. He has filed to trademark the Jericho Vortex and the learning tree. We literally just had artwork a few weeks ago of the Vortex of Jericho, how guys get caught up in it and never recover. So he's taking stuff from this show now.
Yes.
And trying to incorporate it into his gimmick. Unfortunately, at this point, even the AEW fans just want him, literally, in their own words, they want him to go home.
To retire. Please retire. Please retire. And by the way, and also, we're not going to sue him for the Jericho Vortex thing because that is our trademarked artwork and copyrighted program and all that stuff. But we want him to have it. We want, because the Jericho Vortex writes itself. Somebody has already put up the meme of the overhead shot of the toilet bowl being flushed. The Jericho Vortex.
Can I ask you a question? Because I don't remember the answer. Maybe you do. Did Hook ever lose before? Did he lose the FTW title? I mean, the point is, I can't remember him getting pinned or losing. That's why I'm asking.
At one point, they did something screwy, didn't they?
Maybe.
Well, that's way too generic a statement. More specific, please. But the point that we have to think about it is that we can't say they protected him. He comes and he goes and he's here and then he's not, but they haven't just beaten him and made him look like a goofball.
That's
right?
protection in AEW. That's protection.
Well, yeah, there you go. But Jericho, not a popular fellow with this crowd, I think, to say the least. I wanted to give, again, this match every chance to, what the fuck is Jericho going to try to teach Hook something? Learn skills that he can apply in his career in a positive fashion. And then Jericho's pulling out a table 3 minutes in and they're fighting on the floor. And I'm like, okay. And it's FTW rules are no count out, falls count anywhere, no disqualification, lazy booking. And then their Hook gets a trash can lid. So I'm like, okay, they're not going to try to teach the young man anything on pay-per-view. But this, even if it was a garbage match, it looked like an AARP qualifier trying to lead a green kid 30 years younger than him through a fucking garbage indie match, which is basically the description of what actually factually happened, wasn't it? And the fans love Hook and they hate Jericho on a apparently somewhat of a personal level now.
Let me stop you there because I did see some people claiming, and again, we weren't in the room, to be fair, but it's easy to tell the reaction sometimes. There were some people claiming that this was an example of Jericho having great heat. That crowd reaction, that wasn't heat, was it?
Please retire is not the chant that you want to fucking elicit if you're a heel, is it? And it's the groaning heat. It's the, no, we don't like this shit. No, I'm sorry. It's not the fake heat where it becomes a crowd sing-along thing to boo over Don Fallis's promos or more prominently Dominic Mysterio's promos. That's a fan participation. That's not real heat. There is no real heat, legitimately, and that's not me as an old timer saying it. That's next time somebody comes over the rail at a fucking heel with a goddamn knife, then I'll admit I'm wrong. But the bloodline, we just saw at WrestleMania several examples of heels who get a heel reaction that is not groaning and please retire or not the audience just feeding on itself and having fun. they're really booing the heel because they're doing shit they don't want to see him do. And they want to see the other guy win. So there's that heat still in the business. This match just didn't have it. Am I being too harsh?
No, this was a bad match, a sloppy match. Hook certainly didn't learn anything in this match. Jericho somehow talked his way into getting another win over someone who it certainly doesn't help anyone other than Jericho.
And won his father's belt.
And in this case, it didn't even help Jericho. The fans rejected him. They weren't booing a heel. They weren't mad that a heel was beating a babyface. They were mad that Chris Jericho, the human being, was in this match beating another young guy.
Yes. And I want to see how Hook is doing with the furniture and the conditions that prevailed. You can't even really tell how his work is coming along. But I will advise him to get with your dad and watch video of the body shots you're throwing and change immediately how you're throwing them, young man. Anyway, so then Hook suplexed Jericho off the apron through a table and got a 2 count on the floor at one point. And then Hook put the can over Jericho's head and did the pinata deal. You know what? For the Tennessee street fights and a fucking blood feud with a bunch of fucking raving fucking people want to see the goddamn heel get the shit kicked out of him, that kind of shit worked. But this is just, it's the worst part of modern wrestling now that they've just all got to. Anyway, finally, they broke another table. And then Jericho got a baseball bat and yelled, "Don't make me do this. You made me hit you." Like some kind of abusive relationship. Jericho pitched him, "Hey, let me be your mentor," 4 weeks ago. And they haven't gotten along from the beginning. So how is it, "Don't make me do this"? Don't make me. The fucking kid first week said, "I know what you're like, motherfucker." And don't make me do it. Feels like I'm stabbing my own son in the back. And then Hook gives him the finger. So Jericho hits him with a baseball bat. 1, 2, 3. 17 fucking minutes. Yeah.
Awful. The AEW fans rejected it. They rejected Jericho. If you wanted to teach Hook how to wrestle a big match on a big show and put him in there with a veteran to teach him that, this was not that. Awful.
This was not this or that. This was the other thing.
I hope Jericho gets stuck in the vortex of himself. On an old country road.
I'm wondering, yeah, looking for a shortcut he never found. Can you? Is it possible? Is it somehow possible that you could be sucked up your own asshole? To what would it turn you inside out or would you disappear?
That is the Jericho vortex. You get sucked up your own ass. You're kissing your own ass and you get sucked right in. And then it just repeats the cycle over and over again. And any young talent gets sucked up and sucked into it.
Reminds me of something Mama Cornette used to say.
Oh, no.
Look at that empty pair of shoes walking down the street. That's Chris Jericho wearing odor eaters.
Mama Cornette used to say that?
Actually, no, I just attributed it to her because I thought of it at the time. That's another old joke.
You know, one time years and years ago in the 90s, we were making phony phone calls with Marty Gorman on the line. And he called up somebody, goes, "Were you eating donuts or are they just naturally fat?" I fucked up big time. Hey, Tubby? He realized after he fucked up his own joke. I have it on tape somewhere. Anyway.
Maybe he was still in PTSD from having his head set on fire in public.
He seemed to enjoy it. It happened a couple times, but...
Well, nevertheless.
Back to Tony Khan setting his head on fire, AEW Dynasty.